Tony Higginson of Tony's Bonsai made a massive impact on loads of people across the world. Tony died 2 years ago. Now since that tragic event, I've had the opportunity and privilege to be able to do updates on a number of the trees that he passed my way, with the intention that I'm able to continue their bonsai journey. Not necessarily as Tony might have seen it. I continue to get updates from his sister and his father, and rest assured the family are doing very well, and I do hope to get up and visit and have a look and see just how more of those trees are getting on. But in recognition of Tony and the importance he's been within our community, I thought I'd do a spring 2025 update on the trees that I have here at the Bonsai Retreat. Hi, it's Xavier. Welcome to my Bonsai Retreat, and yeah, as you've guessed, this is a Tony's Bonsai special where I'm going to update with you and share some of the ideas and thoughts I've got with a number of the trees that Tony left in my care. Needless to say, they will remain in the Bonsai Retreat, and I'd love to get an update from yourselves as to how you're getting on with some of the trees that were passed your way. I mean, I think many of us recognise that a lot of the trees that I originally got, they've moved on and they've picked up a bit of the Bonsai Retreat sort of style about them. I'm not sure whether Tony would have gone for this wiggly, wavy thing here with his Scots pine, but you know what? We've got some work to do on this. So I'm going to show you the work I do with this and a couple of other trees, and then what we're going to do, and then what I intend to do, is over the next 6 weeks, work on some of the other trees, and hopefully you're seeing this sometime in May. So let's crack on with this Scots pine, because it's early April and there's one thing that definitely needs to come off, and that's the wire. Now what I will say is, looking in here, we've got lots of very, very healthy buds, which is always encouraging, especially on a tree that doesn't belong to me per se. And we've got a few things to resolve with branches, 3 from one point. Got some browning needles we also want to remove. But overall, I pulled these ones upwards with the wire with the intention of optimizing the amount of sun they'd get. I still like, I've got an idea in my head what I want with this. Something radical, something strange and different, something that Tony would probably have approved of. I know a few of you don't. But that doesn't matter, it's my retreat. Anyway, I was talking about the wire. This wire has been on this now for a good long time, and definitely I can see in certain points is biting in. Previous scars are there, and I've got a funny feeling we're going to have a few new ones to add to this. But you know, it's a Scots pine. As it gets older and older, more of this bark is going to crust over. It's going to look fantastic. It's not rocket science. I've got 2 methods for removing wire, either the pliers or the cutters. And truthfully, if I've got the slightly larger gauge of wire, I will try and save it. And the way I do that, and you've seen me do it before, is I just clamp down on pieces of the wire and slowly unroll it so that I can straighten it at a later time. And in the end, costs are rising. Every bit of saving we can make is definitely to my benefit. And then all I'll do is normally pliers on the other end and just straighten it like that. And then I've got a lovely reusable piece of wire, and I can probably get it straighter. Again, you've heard and seen me use a vise and a drill where I can get it even pin straight, and there's a lovely funny little short about that. So I'm going to work my way around there and get these off, and the wire that perhaps isn't so easy to remove, then I'll cut. But if I can save it, I will. Okay, well, I've got the wire off, managed to save most of it. Just a few of the bigger bits are going to go into recycling. And just a thing, if you get pieces that are this sort of length, 4 or 5 millimeter, then these are perfect to keep to one side if you want to create little bridges for those single hole pots. So I always keep stuff like that to one side. This really, one of the things I was saying about this one is when I first put it in this pot, it wasn't that healthy. Lots more buds, still needs a long way to go for recovery wise. I'm going to give it a slow spin, and what I want you all to do is to look at it and tell me what you think is the best styling option for it. Obviously we had this great big trunk chop that he did, which really does set the base here. Potentially, I mean, there is an option to go down that way perhaps and make an argument for a sort of semi-cascade, but I'm not going to be making any big decisions now, so we'll have time to see your responses in the comments. All I'm going to do, two major things. We've got a few bits of tidying up to do with some dead stumps, which I'm quite happy to do now. I'm so ecstatic that there's lots of buds all over this, and with that in mind, I'm going to feed it heavily. Now I hear there's loads of people out there say, no, with your pines you always lay off feeding until the needles are fully extended, so you know you're not going to get extended needle growth. But that's only when it's a completed pine, when it's finished and you want short needles. Right now this thing needs to continue to thrive, throw on as much needle growth, and the longer the needles, the more solar panels, the more we get the shoots coming out, the more potential for future stuff that I can wire. So feeding it heavily and keeping it in the sun. It's an interesting one. I'm really not sure what to do. Changing the angle. Tell you what, get yourselves onto whatever drawing computerized system you can use and see what you can come up with as a potential for this tree. I think now we can also go and have a look at his field maple, which I've always said is probably one of the best things he passed my way, and has caused quite a bit of controversy too. Now, Tony's field maple, there's loads and loads of growth off it. You know, I look back over the comments when I did the pruning on this, especially the root pruning. I practically took 85% of the roots off. Didn't have a lot to begin with, and people were worried that was going to cause an issue. I then removed quite a lot of branches, and that caused some concern. And I think from a beginner's perspective, and I think Tony would like this, this has been the perfect demonstrator to show, certainly with your maple variety, that you can be hard on the roots, that you can be hard on your branches and cutting back, and you will get loads and loads and loads of new opportunities. So even if you make a mistake, there's always a way back. So what am I going to do with this right now in the beginning of April? Well, the buds haven't opened up yet. I'm going to tell this tree where I want the energy to go. I don't need it. There's my main line with some taper. I've got an issue to resolve here with two parallel branches, and I think at the time I said I was thinking about removing this, but at the moment was keeping it. I'm glad I had a look for the healing for this area here, but it may actually be that I might remove this lower one and continue with that. So what I'll do first, let me clear up all the little gubbings that have grown out around the side. Help us to probably see the line of this much better. Actually, you can just rub those off. Must be an air show coming up soon, surrounded by RAF bases. Now in the end, no matter how much I try to explain it to you, you're seeing pictures of the different sites, you're seeing how that's looking, the conglomeration of branching there and also here. Ultimately, I can see the three-dimensional side of this, get the angles right. So I am literally now going to cut it right down to the selected branches that I want, come back and show you exactly what my inspiration is for this really nice field maple stump. Okay, well I've made the decisions, reduce those down to basically 2 or 3 buds that will come from these new points. They're going to create the new, much tighter, smaller shoots in the direction that I want them. Same, we'll get this one to grow from the back, and we're going to get 2 from up here. But that means obviously we're going to have a little junction there where you could argue there'll be 2 from 3, but I'm happy with that at the moment. I've thought long and hard about keeping this growing, and the trouble with keeping this growing is that it's going to stop growth going to these outward branches, and I want that. So I'm quite happily for the moment to actually bring that height back down, looking in the direction of where I would want the growth. Probably I'll take that off, and yeah, it's field maple. I could poke that in a bit of soil and it would grow quite happily. Sounds like my daughters are making something nice for food. Seal the end, and I think even looking there, there's still open the options of a front either that way or indeed the way I'm liking, which is that way. Well, believe it or not, another week has passed and we've just got through Easter, so we're now firmly heading into the sunnier times. He says, looking at deep dark rain clouds. Many of you are going to go, yes, you know this is the tree I love the most. This is the triple trunk Zelkova that Tony put together, and it was the first time I ever had a Zelkova in my collection. And for many of you who've been with me from the start, you'll know there was an ongoing joke about misidentification of Chinese elms and stuff like that being labelled Zelkovas as they come in because they beat some sort of issue about passports. And we had the old elm COVID debate. Anyway, enough of that. What am I going to do now? Well, truthfully, this continues to do well. It's got absolutely tons and bucket loads of weeds, and really right now all I need to do is to make sure that this tree gets fertilized well and is not wasting any energy whatsoever on the cultivation of these horrible common weeds. I mean, weeding is so boring, but if it's an opportunity for you to enjoy this lovely base here, then hey, join me for a little bit of fun weeding. I know I'm not going to get all the roots out on these weeds. This is a constant job, but look here, look at that. It was originally 3 trees, but really impressed with how they've combined. And as you saw from last year's video, the root base that's developing beneath the soil is really good, very 360 radial, and very happy with it. So yeah, let me just continue to get these roots, these weeds out, and then we'll come back to you and discuss the tree in more detail. So there it is. I mean, absolutely beautiful and very healthy. And you know, if you look back last year, you'll see this thing has been hacked back so hard. I keep telling you, elms are absolutely brilliant for backbudding from bare wood, and if I took everything off this, it would just send loads and loads of shoots off the wood. All I am going to do, I want growth to be concentrated lower down, so I am literally just going to cut just these bigger shoots back so that we're not wasting all that energy going up. And absolutely fine for this. Now this has got absolutely tons of energy, so it's very what they call energy positive. It'll respond well to this regardless of the normal time that I would do this, but it's already getting very messy. So let's just tidy up just a little bit. It's only a rough prune, certainly not the big one, but just want to control. We've got stuff going in directions already that I don't want it to go. So if that says to the tree, hey, we'll halt there for a minute, good on it. Okay, so I've probably done quite a bit more pruning than you thought I was going to do, and it really brings up an important point with these. In fact, I'm still doing it. I'm actually pruning right back. And the reason why, when you've got something like elms especially, that produce a profuse load of leaves and growth, what happens is you get these great big long straggly shoots coming out from the bases and the backs and the insides of the trees, and all they want to do is find the light. That growth is all very well if you're looking to gain vigor and energy for your root system. Well, this root system's fine. I'm actually trying to develop a much healthier, tighter ramification. I don't need long leggy shoots, so if I cut them back early, again, part of this is actually observing how it reacts, but I'm pretty sure what will happen, it'll slow it down, and then we're going to get newer buds opening up early, closer in, not wasting all that energy on long leggy growth, which is what we've got here. And that's basically what I've been removing, all this long leggy stuff, and taking it back to about probably 2 or 3, sometimes 4 leaves. It's also allowed it to open it right up, which again at this time of the year helps with reducing the problems of aphids and beasts like that. Lots of air circulation and flow through there. I can see what's going on. The only reason I wouldn't prune is because at the moment these shoots are very, very soft, and I tend to find that if I wait until mid-May, they've hardened up a lot more and make ideal candidates for cuttings. So here's a question for you. What sort of pot would you put this triple trunk Zelkova in? I'm thinking dark, but be interested to know what your views are. You know, would you do rectangular or circular? Again, you know, me and pots, we're not always on the best of terms. So what are the next of Tony's trees should we have a look at? Oh, I know. Well, believe it or not, it's now 3 weeks later. We're somewhere around the 14th of May, and things have continued to thrive in the bonsai retreat. And I will give you a quick sneak preview at the end of just how those three you've just seen are looking now, especially the field maple. But you'll know that one of the things I did get from Tony was, I think it was an 11 tree Silver Birch forest. I won it in the raffle, first thing I've ever won. And unfortunately, as you'll see last year, we did have to split it. And out of that, I've got 4, which I think are very, very healthy and potentially brilliant bonsais for Silver Birch. Just get rid of that weed. The first thing is this one here. I was always impressed with this lovely movement in the trunk. Got taper, it's got everything you want from the basic primary structure for a bonsai. And then all I was looking to do is to move it and develop it on, and I wasn't sure whether this was going to take over and become the new part of it, or whether we were actually going to continue this aspect, because there's not a lot of taper in that part there, and see what grows from up here. Well, clearly, what you can see, it's healthy, and much that I might be inclined perhaps to prune back the growing tips here. In fact, yes, that's about the only thing I will do. So it's much that I might be inclined to. I'm going to clear a few stubs. I want this to have a lot of growth up, and I'm quite happy for this to also have a lot of growth up. So I'm not going to touch the growing tips on this. But at no point do I see a time when this is going to end up becoming the main aspect for this tree. So don't really need energy going here, except there is one good important reason why I might want to keep that one going. I could be using it as a sacrifice branch, in which case I want it to elongate, and it could be in the result of I want to do some healing up here, or indeed I want to continue to thicken this branch and then cut it back at a later stage. And do you know what? Let's consider that. If we look at here, there is actually a very, very large cut, and the only way that cut is going to heal is as a result of good, healthy sap movement. And you'll know that because you'll have recently watched my great beginner's guide to wound healing in bonsai. And if you haven't, guess what? Wait to the end and I'll give you a link to it. But in this aspect, where the actual branch is coming from a lot lower down, the reality is, I think we're going to get good healing from this branch and potentially this one here as well. So what I am going to do is just going to cut the growing tip there. And what I want to see happen is a little bit more back budding happening, so that I continue to get lots more growth, but also a bit of ramification as well. So for this, I'm just going to cut some ends back. Apart from that, I might just remove a couple of the bigger leaves so that we can see, oh look, so I can see that big green fly there. And say, let that one grow, let that grow. Got stubs here, but what we have got is, if we look in close here again, it's about making sure that we don't have this tree wasting energy in areas we don't want it. And in close here, got a little shoot right there, which the only reason that would be any use whatsoever is if I was going to remove that entire branch. Gosh, the wind's picked up. So we will remove that. Just for clutter, I'm going to remove a couple of the bigger leaves. And the reason, again, for that, it allows me to see if there's any bugs in there. It also, as I say, if you remove one of 2 leaves, semi-leaf defoliation, it also encourages the tree to actually activate some of the buds lower back on these, which again is brilliant for creating ramification. There'll be a few of you saying, can you do something about that wound now? And looking at it, what I'm looking for again is a collar. And if you're looking close, I can actually see that collar. And because I can see that collar and that delineation just here above that junction, I know that I can very, very carefully with this fine Japanese saw, it's quite long actually, that's the only problem with it, is remove that top stub, which is what I'm going to do right now. And there's only one thing that would stop me doing it, and this is the one thing I'll encourage you now. This is probably not the right tool. I need something that's a lot finer and a lot shorter. I've got so little control here. Many of you will have noticed that wobbling about. You need to look at your trees and actually be listening and watching them. That was moving about. That tells me that the roots aren't certainly anywhere near thick enough, and much that I'd love to be able to remove that now with the right tool, I haven't got the right tool. What I can do though is try and nibble away at it, and that's the way I'm going to approach it this time, because what I do not want to do is risk any sort of damage to that growing root system on a tree that we know that as soon as you do something that upsets it, starts dropping branches. So instead I'm going to go at it with my concave cutter and very, very slowly nibble away back to the point where I know it has compartmentalized. And even there, if we look in, what we can see is that that's all still very dead there. So I've got quite a way I can go back, and I'm going to continue to nibble and concentrate on that rather than concentrating on you. Okay, so I've managed to whittle that down. I've exposed the cambium on the majority of the area, and again the reason why we want a nice clean edge is to help and aid the cambium to roll over. One of the issues we're going to have here is that it's fairly flush. I'm more nervous with silver birch because I know their propensity. Propensity! Another cracking word in the bonsai retreat. Propensity. Of their desire to drop branches if they think it's waste of energy serving it that way. So I'm not going to actually dig deeper and create that depression that we need for the rolling to be more uniform and how we want it. What I have done is certainly opened up enough, and now with the aid of some cut putty that, as you know, I've got from Adam of Notion Bonsai, I'm just going to gently protect and seal over those open areas. The only thing I have noticed, I have seen a number of green fly on there. So what I've got is my organic spray, which I'm just going to apply without the wind blowing it straight back into my glasses. Now that I've sprayed that, what I'm going to do is put it into a shady area of the garden for half an hour or so, just so that all dries off, and then I'm going to give that a good watering. And for now, that's all we'll do with that one. But that has a lot of oh no, I've found something else we are going to do. Got some dead roots down here. Might as well clean it up, get those off. With the second one, again, lots of good movement. The taper happens a lot lower down, and it's quite a long, tall, you'd probably say leggy. Not entirely sure which direction I want to go. There'd be no, say, if I got budding a lot lower down. And I think I was even at one stage talking about that becoming the new part of the tree, or indeed using that to create a sort of mother-daughter style. To be fair, at this stage I'm really not sure, but again, it's healthy, lots and lots of growth. All I really need to do is decide what I don't want. I probably don't want this long straight bit here. Higher up we've got a few stubs which I can see. I can clean the stubs now, because that will start the healing process all along the tree. And that's something that I would equally do, is encourage anyone where you've got a stub mark where you've had a previous branch removal. There's nothing stopping you going in there with your concave cutters and just starting that process of healing. Get rid of all those stubs. Obviously the higher up you go, you want to try and get some smaller concave cutters. Make sure what you don't do though, the which is what I've got here, is a bud. It's inadvertently cut off a bud that may be good later on. What I've got to be aware of is the higher I let this grow up, it's apically dominant, the more likely it is to say, well, I don't really need to put any energy into this. So there's no great problem with the thickness of the trunk in terms of taper. So I am in this instance inclined to just cut the growing tips on all of these upper ones. Again, these sort of decisions are very personal to yourself. You may decide you actually want some of the growth that's lower down, but for now I'm happy to keep that going. I want it to grow up and strengthen, and I don't want any more energy going up there. Hence remove these little growing tips here. That will also encourage, as I said before, the tree to look at other areas where it's got buds that haven't been activated and activate those closer into the tree. And there's only one thing that I'm going to draw to your attention right now, and it's ideal for pests, because you'll notice that a few of these leaves have got brown spots on them, and if you turn them over, what you'll see is they've got a colony of green aphids. In fact, just to prove it's not a fluke, we'll turn another one over, say this one here, and it too, under it's got a colony of green aphids. And you might ask me and say, yeah, I bet they all have. Well, actually, if you look, we've got some nice healthy leaves. If you look where we've got a couple of healthy leaves, like say for this one, turned over, absolutely no aphids. And again, let's just double check. There's another healthy green leaf here. Turn it over, and again, no aphids. So there's many reasons why we get the browning in the leaf, but for me, I've found it's normally an indicator that the bugs have got under, and the aphids are getting in there like little blood suckers and sucking the sap and life out of the leaves. Not the only reason why you might get browning like that, but certainly on this one, wherever there's browning, I've found aphids underneath. What I do need to do is make sure I give this a good spray, and certainly the underside of the leaves. And that's something I will say is often when we spray we can be a bit downwards, and what we don't do is get the aphids that are underneath. And this this solution, what it does, works on the exoskeleton so that the bug can't breathe, basically. It dies a painless death, from what I understand, and then later on we can just wipe them all off. Now this third one, I know many of you will remember, a little bit more challenging, and I think Andrew Beattie was cringing when I removed what he thought was a pretty essential branch for this one. I can't even remember which branch it was. But Philip Waterman came up with a great idea, and I say big thank you to Philip. He supports my channel, has done probably right from the beginning. I'm sure he's quite close to me, but hasn't visited. That's still on the cards, Philip, if you can. And his idea was to actually create a raft. And to do that, all I would need to do is to remove all the bottom cambium down the bottom there, plant it deep into a new container, hold it down, and then new roots will hopefully form from it. And you know, we could do that and create a little thing there. I was going to do it this year, but time passed, so I didn't get around to it. Could I try it now and start the process? Well, we start air layers now, so why not? In fact, why not? Shall we consider that? No, we won't, because it's a silver birch. I know they can be a bit temperamental. We'll leave that for spring 2026. So I must remember to do that. And how will I remember? I'll whack a reminder in my Bonsai Access database. I'll put in there that I want a reminder for February 2026, so that when I print off my task list for February next year, the one that'll come up is reminding me that I'm going to make a raft out of this. So in terms of anything else, what do I want to do with it? Well, I know it's going to be a raft. Actually, I want all of these to grow and continue to grow out. While it's doing that, it's getting nice and healthy. We've got a wound here, but because I know that's going to become a raft and all that's going to get exposed, I'm really not bothered. It'll heal. That's going to be underground. So really all I actually want is another couple of suckers or shoots to come up there, which unfortunately may not happen. Leaves us to have a look at the little marmot one I've got. So yeah, we've got this little one here, which I really love. I really do. Lots of healthy shoots, got some bugs on it. Do I need to do anything with any of the shoots? No, I just want them to grow, because what I want this to do is to fill this pot with lovely with lovely life-giving roots. There's only one thing I could do right here. We can definitely do a little bit more work on bringing down the stub. I want to be careful not to get too close to other branches, but certainly just nibble that back. The danger is when we're working with something that's so close to other small branches, there's a risk that we're going to end up being a little bit too exuberant with this and pushing it right into another branch. So I'm quite happy to do this slowly over time. All of that is actually dead. There's no cambium there at all, so I don't need to cover it. For now I'm happy just to leave it like that. Probably actually, I'm going to have to apologise now. We've got different changes in light, so I'm sure the screen's going darker and lighter, and I know that can be a pain. But in fact, I might just mention now, a couple of you have noticed that I get some blurring or some problems with the picture quality. It's happening on some of the edit cuts that I do. I'm trying to eliminate and identify the problem, but as yet, I'm still trying to work out what it is that DaVinci's changed to cause that to happen. So again, bear with me. Hopefully the content's good enough that you can put up with a few of the foibles. I found 2 words in one video, so foibles is another one. If you can put up with the foibles of some of my editing. But some things you can control, some you can't. Anyway, the hawthorn. As I said, you saw it earlier in the year. Well, look, it's definitely throwing out lots of growth, and generally I'm happy to have that growth continuing. There's probably only a few areas where I definitely don't want it, and I'm quite happy to let this grow out. Probably, where was the front? I think I had the front somewhere around here. I mean, if you look, that really interesting, and I think I call it a crow's or a chicken's foot root system there. Very unusual. It leads to a nice curve, and then the way the wounds are healing on these 4 splits up the trunk, it's absolutely magnificent. It's going to be a really unique tree. So all I want to do is make sure the tree is not putting energy in directions that I really don't need it. Here, one coming right from the base, the trunk, don't need that. Here, same thing, don't need that. The one at the bottom, don't need that. Now we've got these growing out, and for now I've got no particular issue. I could, if I wanted to, cut them right back to try and create that ramification to start the process, but actually there's also part of me that wants more energy, a little bit more thickening on this branch. So for thickening purposes, it's a great reason to let that stuff grow off. We've got to start looking at this. We've got this one coming back in, and I don't need that coming in, so we'll get rid of that. And now I definitely, what I do want to do is to stop a lot of energy going upwards. It's an apically dominant plant. I want more energy going lower down, so we're going to be cutting these right back to just try and form some basic pads where we've got things like here, right lot, going right across. Let's get rid of it. Okay, so hopefully you've got a bit of a clear idea of certainly my thought processes as to why some branches like this one I leave, and why I've cut these back. It's all about making sure energy goes where I want it to go, not where the tree wants it to go. This is the second of the 2, and it's actually the one that he passed on to Alex Braunsford, who kindly passed it back to me. And as you can see, it's certainly healthy. It's still in its tin. It's got roots coming down the bottom, and all I do is actually sit it in a place where the roots continue to grow downwards. I still don't know how much of a problem it's going to be in 2, 3, 4 years time when I try and drop this tin off. I think the whole idea is to get a spiral of roots growing down until they're hard enough that it becomes self-supporting. I think that's the idea. It's something that Eric does from Bonsai. Anyway, a bit of wire on this, just check for wire scarring, nothing there. And as you can see when you look along, the needles are starting to open up on the new buds, and you can see the husks actually come off, that browny rice paper look, and looking fine. But very slow. I'm not going to do anything to it now, that'll be later in the year, but be interested to see what it looks like in comparison to the one that actually got taken out of that put into bonsai soil. So I took this out of the tin, forgetting it wasn't root over rock, and I have tried to sort of bundle it back in there with a nice potting mix, and it's amazing just how green and vibrant and healthier it looks. There's no dead needles on it anywhere. All the branches look absolutely brilliant. All of them have got lots of buds coming. In fact, there's some buds from here which we can remove because we don't want buds coming in from those junction points, although I might like that one and end up removing this one. So I will actually take off one of those, but this is looking absolutely wonderful. But again, I'm going to let these grow because it's continued to give the tree health, but there's no doubt taking it out of the soil that it was in, putting it into something like this, much more free draining and also bigger, I'd imagine those roots are having a party down there right now, enjoying life and giving all that enjoyment to the growth that we're seeing on this spruce. So, you know, watching how both develop, I think it's going to be an interesting journey in its own right. Yeah, we've got lots of work we can do on this, but you know what? There's no hurry. I'll watch this and we'll come back to this later in the year. Really like that. Now I thought what I would do is show you this Japanese larch because it's one that Tony potted up. He did some wiring and some styling on, and the video link for that actually will be up there. And the reason why I've raised this one is because originally this was one of my larches that was a sapling back in 2015. And Tony challenged me by sending me a couple of his ropey trees while I sent him this really nice one. And I'm sure he was trying to do my legs, but playfully, that's the way Tony was sometimes. Anyway, I did three things with his trees, but this is what he did with my very, very straight larch. And it's looking really, really healthy. Love it in the pot. And we're just reaching that point where we're getting the extensions on the shoots, where we can actually go in and do our first round of pruning on Japanese larch. And you know that I love larch. I've got loads of great stuff in my larch playlist, and in fact we're not going to see me pruning this one. We're actually going to revisit my my Labrador Larch Mountain, and there's a number of videos on that playlist, and in particular it's looking really, really healthy, which you're probably seeing right now. But if any of you have watched my channel for any while, you'll notice that there might be something definitely different about it. It certainly looks a bit more populated. Anyway, that will be an interesting video to watch, all about Japanese larch pruning for greater ramification development. But it also talks about perhaps adding a few trees to a rock, and it's going to be great to see. As I say, I reckon that's going to be a couple of weeks. Make sure you don't see it. You've got to hit the bell notifications, subscribe, share, all that great stuff that us desperate YouTubers love you to do. Bit of a time lapse from work I did in February right through to the first stage pruning, which we all should be doing now, mid-May. Oh, I have mentioned in a previous thing about seedlings that I did get a load of seedlings from Tony. Should we just jump down to the bottom of the garden, just have a look and see how they're doing? Not a lot of work I can do with them, but it'd be interesting to see how healthy they are. Well, here they are, where I've kept them in the railway planting bed. They're all very, very healthy. We've got a combination of Scots pine, potentially spruce. I think we've got one or two black pines, and all of them look really, really healthy. We've got some of them, like this one here. Well, in fact, all of the ones that Tony did have got wire at the base, and I've just left it, and already we're getting some interesting little shapes from it. Got to stay on top of the weeding, and really at this stage, feed them, weed them. If you remember that, life will be good. Oh wow. That is a Ginkgo cutting that I did last year, looking very, very nice. In fact, for any of those who are wondering when Ginkgo is coming, they're all looking really, really healthy. Not lots of work to do on them, but there will be an episode coming up shortly, probably on a Tuesday some point. So yeah, really, really happy with the growth that we're getting on all the seedlings that Tony planted. Well, these must be three years old now. So although it's not my seedlings in terms of germination, we've definitely got a few seedling projects that are going to suddenly start appearing, probably, maybe in a couple more years' time. So that really leaves only one thing. I did promise you that was going to show you just how fast that field maple has grown in just 3 weeks. So there it is, there's the field maple. It's looking very, very happy, healthy, covered in bugs. So yep, needless to say, you need to make sure those little bugs don't ruin all the life-giving sap and energy that we want from those growing tips. But I've got the same issue with these. I've got to make sure that this tree isn't putting all the energy into the top if I want lower branches to be growing out. So with that in mind, I'm going to be doing exactly the same sort of pruning. And cut these right. I might let that one grow, but I do need this branch here to grow out. My gosh, it's absolutely covered in aphids. But I could do with putting a bit of wire on that. So I've got some wire that I straightened up from an earlier project. And all I'm going to do is very loosely cage it. And the reason why is all I want to really do on this is make sure it doesn't go upwards. It does indeed go horizontally, so to speak. There we go. Just a little bit of movement there. Just clean up what's around these junctions. Happy for the energy to go there. We've got a little one down the bottom here. Don't want that. And really, that's all I need to do with that. So we've had a chance to look at all of Tony's bonsai. Right down there I'm looking at the Japanese Zelkova, the triple trunk. You saw how it looked. It's just looking a bit more bushy as it's also continuing to grow out. I've just got to give that straightforward pruned profile, but I won't do that on camera. Hopefully you've enjoyed this this update on Tony's bonsai, in particular because I've been able to show you various aspects of spring work, whether it be wound healing, energy redistribution, just a comparison of how things grow in 2 different environments, but generally just an update. And hopefully my intention is as we get nearer the autumn time and things are winding down, we'll have a look and see how all of Tony's trees are looking then. But apart from that, I think the best video I can get you to watch is one where Tony challenged me to actually take on 3 of his trees and see exactly what I did with them. Apart from that, enjoy life, enjoy bonsai. God bless. Cheers.